Good afternoon. This is Terry Smith. I'll take a quick introduction and we'll bring Pat on. I want to take a moment to thank the University of Alaska Foundation for supporting this program. It's our honor to partner with the foundation to bring today's program to you. Today, we are pleased to host Interim President of the University of Alaska, Pat Pitney. Pat was selected by the University of Alaska Board of Regents to serve as the University Interim President beginning in August last year. Prior to her return to the university, Pat served as the Director of the Division of Legislative Finance for the Alaska State Legislature. She also served in the Walker administration as Director of the Office of Management and Budget. In addition to her public service within state government, Pat has spent 23 years in various roles with the University of Alaska. She was the former Vice Chancellor of Administration at the University of Alaska Fairbanks and worked as UA statewide for 17 years prior to her current assignment. Let me also add that Pat is a current member of Commonwealth North. She has been a frequent presenter at our fiscal policy study group and contributes to our understanding of many of the aspects of Alaska's fiscal realities. Pat, you have taken the reins of the university at a critical time. The university system is adapting to the changes and the pandemic problems, as well as the state's fiscal challenges. It also has campuses both large and small across the state, each with its own unique challenges. The university is vital to Alaska, and it's important that we ensure a robust education system for the future of Alaskans. Pat, thank you for being with us online. We look forward to your report. The floor is yours. And she's muted. Pat, you're muted. There you go.
Thank you, Terry. And thank you, Commonwealth North, for the opportunity to present the state of the university. And I also want to extend my thanks to the foundation to allow this address to be live streamed to our campuses and through gavel to gavel to our broader communities. You know, the University of Alaska is Alaska's higher education system. And our state's public higher education system has 3 accredited universities, each with different missions. University of Alaska Fairbanks, our research university, University of Alaska Anchorage, our urban comprehensive, and University of Alaska Southeast, our regional university. Each of these have different strengths, and each has different focus, and each provides a unique student experience. Unlike other universities, in addition to our undergraduate and graduate degree focus, our universities also have the community college and vocational technical responsibility. We are proud of this role and embrace our community campuses and their role in serving the unique needs of our communities from Ketchikan to Kotzebue. When the Board of Regents asked me to lead the university system this last summer, their charge was clear. Bring stability to the system. Bring stability to the system. Show that we are managing the budget reductions with an eye on the future. And with our foundation of quality programs, continue to meet industry's highest priority workforce needs. I added, we must also provide those impacted by COVID with the opportunity to upskill. The jobs that come back are not the jobs we've lost. Sustainability is key. Employers, communities, the state, and students can have the confidence and trust that their universities, UAA, UAF, and UAS, are here to stay. The difficult decisions the board needed to make in reducing programs, demolishing and selling facilities, monetizing assets, centralizing services, and reducing administration, including the system office, are being accomplished. We are continuing to resize to meet the budget constraint. Understand over the next year and even 2, there are going to be additional adjustments. They will be on the margin, but they are necessary. There is no doubt the past few years have been difficult. State funding cuts, 7 out of the last 8 years, $120 million and a 30% reduction to our base. But I look at the suite of academic and workforce programs across the university system and how much tighter we are linked to our industries today. For example, in the late 1990s, the period when our state support was as low as it is today, we were graduating about 80 undergraduate engineers. Today, we're graduating over 230 undergraduate trained engineers every year. We were graduating about 70 nurses. Today, we're graduating 260 nurses every year. And in total, we're graduating 850 qualified healthcare workers every year. I know confidence and trust is building in our university system. Employers, from hospitals to oil companies to school districts, are asking for more graduates. Whether it's certificate holders, two-year associates, baccalaureate or master's degrees, our graduates are who employers want. Our graduates are highly qualified. They want to work in Alaska. They stay in Alaska. And they're committed to our communities. Chamber of Commerce and economic development groups communicate the importance of stability for the university and its role in our state's economic recovery. Thank you, Bill Popp, for your recent op-ed. And thank you, Bruce Bustamone and the Alaska Chamber for putting university funding in your legislative priorities. Individuals and groups are contributing to our stability as well. A group led by David Hoffman and other longtime advocates, Bill Popp and Eleanor Andrews, are volunteering on two very important projects. One is a major focus on our biggest competitor, attracting the segment of students who don't attend college. Our biggest competitor is not our lower 48 colleges and universities. Our biggest competitor are the students who choose not to go to college. The second project is beginning to reimagine the UAA and UMed district and what it could look like if we had the concept of a Main Street. That's a longer term effort and it'll take time, but now is the time to start. The Anchorage community stepped up and raised 2 years of funding for downhill skiing in less than 6 months. And there's so much excitement and momentum around the gymnastics and hockey program that Chancellor Schultz and I are asking the Board of Regents for more time for the fundraising effort for those two teams. Our competitive research status has stayed strong and even grown a little over the past several years. More importantly, or most importantly, we are seeing a rebound from our students. Early applications and admissions are on the rise. Providing access to quality academic programs connected to the needs of our economy. That's our focus. That's our primary business. The University of Alaska system will assure programs in place that are accessible and affordable and focused on the state's workforce needs. The governor, in his State of the State speech, talked about the need for Alaska to be more self-reliant. Having an educated workforce is a principle of self-reliance. No longer is the day that Alaska wages and benefits attract workers from lower 48. When workers come up now, they don't stay for their entire career, like most of us remember. And to business, turnover is expensive. Employers want Alaskans. The university is proud that it has degree programs stretching from short courses and certificates and things like nursing assistants to associates, baccalaureate, all the way up to our professional and graduate degrees. Take, for example, our recent experience. Most of our public health officials, maybe not most, many of our public health officials, because I know them personally, have graduated from our UAA Masters in Public Health. Their leadership during this pandemic has been instrumental in our state. I also want to thank the teachers out there who've adapted and been flexible during the COVID environment, switching to online and working through the learning process for their students in this new environment. Teacher education remains one of our top priorities. Yes, UAA teacher education programs had a setback with their accreditation, but immediately UAF and UAS expanded their focus into South Central Alaska, offering face-to-face and distance programs for teachers. We know people identify with UAA and want to become a teacher. They can. UAA has developed a pre-education 2+2 program to feed seamlessly into the UAF and UAS licensure programs. If you want to be a teacher, there is a program in our state for you. Whether it's on campus or online in any community, the programs are there. You can start if you've just gotten out of high school or if you already have a college degree. Alaska needs more Alaska-trained teachers. Consider a career change, and we can meet you at whatever your starting point is. Alaska school districts say again and again, they want Alaska-trained teachers. They stay in Alaska. The coursework covers the unique Alaska issues, and our teachers are more prepared. In addition to training teachers, we're doing a considerable amount to attract students into the profession through our Educators Rising program and our PETAS program, catching students before they leave high school. And once our teachers are trained, we have a mentor program that helps early career teachers have the support for a long and successful teaching career. We will continue to focus on that quality, as well as attention to our reading programs in early childhood to support the state's Reading by 9 initiative. We'll be asking the board to consider reinstating the 4-year early childhood degree at UAA in the near future. Towards that end. Health, engineering, and fisheries, marine, and ocean sciences remain high priorities. Industry wants every engineering graduate we can provide out of the UAF and the UAA programs. These programs have a long history of sharing courses, and the bond between those programs continues and is strengthened during this time of budget constraint. Our vocational training programs prepare teachers. Our vocational training programs prepare people for the jobs of today. And fortunately, these programs can be adapted and revised as those jobs change. These are programs that can be completed in months, like the Certified Nurse Assisting or Medical Assisting, Fisheries Technology, and Fast Track programs to help people who have been displaced to upskill. As jobs come back, the new skills will make each person more qualified for those new jobs. Now is an excellent time for those who are underemployed or unemployed to think about using the university to improve their skills. Did you know we have a 1-year program in airframe power mechanics, highly sought after by the aviation industry? There are only 7 approved programs in the nation that you can complete in 1 year. We have programs like these to fit each person. It takes the courage to use this opportunity and put the time in to get your next skill. I want to highlight a young man who had the courage and took the time. Trevor Earle returned to college to earn his degree several years after graduating from Soldotna High. He was working for a contractor in the oil field service industry. He wanted more job security and a degree that would provide for that. 2 weeks before the semester was to start in 2017, he signed up to take classes at the Kenai Peninsula College. His goal was to achieve a 4.0 and secure an internship with a company like Conoco or Hillcorp. Last May, Trevor graduated at the top of his class in process technology. He was hired on with MagTech, a Hillcorp contractor. He says college is a challenge for anyone, especially those who come back to school after a long break. Pursuing education later in life is certainly possible. If Trevor can do it with 2 kids, a full-time job, and the challenges of adulting, anyone can. We've done work with the Alaska Department of Labor. 89% of the process technology graduates over the last 10 years go to work in Alaska. In their first year, they make $74,000. This is a 2-year education program. By their 5th year, the average for the 700 process technology graduates, the average is $130,000 a year, 5 years into their career. Process technology programs are equipment intensive. They're offered in 2 places, Kenai Peninsula and the Community and Technical College. And again, industry will take every graduate we can provide. Across several industry sectors, 70 to 90% of our UA graduates are working within a year in the state. And based on Department of Labor information, degree attainment pays. A high school graduate on average makes $35,000 a year. An associate makes $44,700 a year. At the baccalaureate level, the average wage is $58,000 a year. And at the graduate level, it's $77,000. Degree attainment in our economy has a huge impact on wages. In addition, more education and training correlates with lower unemployment and lower crime rates. Education is good for our state. There are so many examples of excellent programs and success stories. In the board meeting last fall, we highlighted Ben Kelly, an engineer who's now running an Alaska business manufacturing orbital scale hardware. I'm going to reduce that to rocket parts. He graduated from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. He landed a job with SpaceX as a lead launch engineer. He always wanted to work in the space industry, and he got his hands-on experience at UAF. Ben is from Nikiski. He and his brother started a drone company when he came back to Alaska to explore how unmanned aerial vehicles can make remote transportation more efficient and safe. Now Ben has started and operates the launch company, building hardware for the commercial launch company, or building hardware for the commercial space industry. These are the stories of how university programs impact our state. People don't realize the reach of the programs throughout our communities. So we're doing a better job of telling our story and being proud of our programs. Part of Ben's story on his launch company is the work he's doing with the Small Business Development Center and the Alaska Manufacturing Center. These are UAA programs. The Manufacturing Center supports and expands manufacturing, works to support and expand manufacturing businesses in Alaska. The Small Business Development Center has also been super instrumental in our COVID response. Small Business Development Center is focused on helping businesses go through the huge process of applying for the payroll protection programs. These are for forgivable loans through the EDA. Additionally, UAA's Business Enterprise Institute has supported the business relief COVID relief programs at the state and the community level. We've had many more contributions during this COVID timeline. I want to give a big shout out to Dr. Tom Hennessy and the UAA College of Health. Tom has been an epidemiology advisor to both the state and the university, helping us understand and navigate and operate through this time. College of Health graduated nurses early so they could be in the workforce. They quickly developed a contact tracer training program and also ran a contact tracing team so we could stay on top of our COVID cases. The Institute of Social and Economic Research provided significant information to groups about the economic impact of the COVID pandemic. And I think Commonwealth North actually heard from Musin Gutabi on several occasions. Both UAA and UAF provided and manufactured and distributed PPE equipment. And in the midst of all this, the university needed to operate. And I want to thank the faculty and staff for doing the quick switch to online instruction. And I mostly want to thank our students for being as flexible as they have been as we've managed through this interesting time. We are all looking forward to getting back to a new normal. A bright spot during COVID and a bright spot through our budget reductions has been the strength of our research and the competitiveness. We can attribute our high competitiveness in research to our programs, our long-standing programs, especially at UAF. University of Alaska Fairbanks, relative to its peers, is substantially more competitive for external funding at the national and international level. Relative to its student body, UAF is 3 times more successful in attracting external research funding. The research enterprise is good for Alaska. It brings in $160 million of federal and private funding into our economy. And if our universities weren't competing for this, that money would go to Washington or Oregon, or who knew, Ohio's big in Arctic research too. This $160 million a year has positive impact on the economies of our communities throughout Alaska. Just one example, the research vessel Sekuliak. It's home ported in Seward. This is a National Science Foundation ice-capable research vessel for the Arctic. The ship sails missions with scientists from all over the nation and all over the world. These scientists come and travel into Alaska. They go to Seward, they go to Kodiak, they go to Dutch Harbor, Nome. Alaska also, from the science that happens on the ship, benefits with better understanding of the ocean changes and has better information to manage our fisheries. To be selected to construct, home port, and operate this unique research vessel took 20 years of prioritized attention. And every 5 to 10 years, the operation of the Sekuliak is recompeted. And I want to tell you, Alaska, for Arctic's sake and for Alaska's sake, we're going to stay competitive for that ship. I'm so excited about several research opportunities. UAF is on the forefront of unmanned aerial vehicles research and policies to make unmanned aerial flight a day-to-day occurrence. UAA is operating the Arctic Domain Awareness Center. And recently, the Department of Energy opened a new Arctic Energy office on the UAF campus, largely due to the partnership with the Alaska Center for Energy and Power. ACEP partners with many businesses and communities to optimize renewable energy opportunities across the state. I know in your Arctic study group, you learned that Alaska now has utility scale solar opportunity. One such company is working on the solar power in Alaska is Renewable IPP. It's a company in Willow run by CEO Jen Miller and her 3 business partners. In 2018, they started a 140 kilowatt pilot project. With the confidence that they received from the Alaska Center for Energy and Power, they moved forward with a 1.2 megawatt solar farm expansion. The Willow Solar Farm has grown from 408 solar panels to more than 3,600. More importantly, the independent verification and testing Alaska Center of Energy and Power performed is enabling renewable IPP to attract investors. The depth of expertise in Arctic climate change, Earth systems modeling, whether for strategic defense, infrastructure development for the oil industry like permafrost, dealing with the permafrost melting, or in strategic minerals and mining. We are in a perfect position to remain competitive given our nation's priorities. And I really appreciate the work Commonwealth North has done with its Arctic Study Group. Alaska has a huge opportunity in the coming national and global Arctic agenda, and we want to be on the forefront of that agenda. I encourage you to invite our scientists to share their expertise and their experience. And I noticed as we were starting today that you have Gwen Holdman from the Alaska Center for Energy and Power up on Friday. I appreciate that. There are many others to ask their experiences as well. On the budget side, we are managing through our budget reductions. Over these last several years of reductions of state funding, we have been able to maintain our earned revenue. That's largely due to research. This year, we've had a double whammy with COVID. With additional expense and lost revenue, we calculate our impact of COVID at $47 million. To date, we've received $31 million in relief. How have we managed through this reduction? Largely it's people. We have 25 fewer employees today than we did in 2014. Nearly 1,000 of those are full-time faculty and staff. We have reductions in administration and the system office. The fiscal year 22 budget that we presented to the legislature shows a 60% reduction in state funding in the system office from 2014. We've also consolidated our operations for human resources and procurement across the system. We've sold 10 facilities, we've demolished 13, and we're leasing facilities out that we can. For example, the University Center Mall. They've moved all the programs that were in the University Center Mall into on-campus space and are leasing it out to DMV and Department of Health and Social Services. And as I mentioned before, we've reduced programs. We have more than 50 fewer programs than we'd had. But we will continue focusing on the foundation of academic and workforce programs that meet our industry needs. Our programs are thin and collaboration across our units is expanding to address gaps while keeping the program access points open. Those program access points is our key to enrollment. You know, based on enrollment statistics, we found that our schools and colleges that have been already heavily involved in distance delivery have managed best through this pandemic. In fact, we've seen growth in enrollment in key areas: the SIC campus, the Ketchikan campus, UAF School of Management, and the College of Fisheries and Ocean Sciences. All of these units were already deep into distance delivery. And in fact, UAF School of Management's online business programs, both at the baccalaureate and master's level, rate high in the US News and World Report rankings for their distance available programs. Where we saw the biggest impact of COVID, however, on enrollment is in our community and technical colleges where we have substantially more hands-on courses to accommodate social distancing. We've maintained the classes, but with much smaller enrollment. And that has been a significant reduction, has caused a significant reduction. We look forward to this fall when we can get back to filling these classes up. Since the budget reduction started, our enrollment's down about 30%. Not only do we have fewer high school graduates in Alaska now, we have fewer people in general with people leaving. And of course, we've reduced our program footprint. But the biggest thing that's impacted our enrollment is the budget uncertainty. And that's why we're working so hard to bring back stability. Because with stability, we can focus on the programs we have, that core foundation of programs that we have, to build enrollment. And that's where our opportunity lies to serve the state. Our recent work with stability has paid off. We're seeing applications up both this spring and the early applications in the fall. And admissions are up as well. We're seeing growth in engineering, management, fisheries, and healthcare programs. We're also stepping back into the middle college or into the high schools with our middle college programs and our Alaska Advantage program. We're working with 35 school districts to work with students in their junior and senior year. And what we're finding is those students are using the middle college programs, those dual enrollment programs, and at a much higher rate, coming into the university, sometimes with as much as 2 years of college under their belt. At UAF, and soon to be at UAA, we've adjusted pricing to meet the amount provided by the federal tuition assistance benefit and eliminates out-of-pocket expense for military students. This is a huge advantage for the military students, but also for our state. And again, on teacher education, we'll be launching a new website and an awareness campaign aimed at attracting more students into our education programs, with a special attention to improving access in Anchorage and South Central. We will continue to prioritize programs critical to the state needs, and we're also focusing on affordability for students, from foundation scholarships to the Alaska Performance Scholarship and the Alaska Education Grants. There are many affordable paths for students to attend college. A major focus of the Board of Regents since I have come on is their attention to addressing racial justice issues and improving participation and success for Alaska Natives through educational achievement. Our initiative that we've started is bold and includes action teams and a steering committee. We have leaders representing the Board of Regents, the universities, Alaska Native corporations, tribal entities, and other organizations to help guide the process. 37 people, internal to the university and external, are helping us develop a blueprint we can implement over the next 3 to 5 years. Our stated intent is we aspire for the University of Alaska system to better represent the Alaska population, for all to feel they belong, and for the change to be visible and recognized. We have a lot of exciting opportunities on the horizon. I'm only going to touch on a couple. First is our land grant legislation. I want to thank our delegation for their support, especially Senator Murkowski. Today, the University of Alaska only has 150,000 acres. the land grant legislation would allow for 360,000 additional acres. That puts us at about 500,000 acres compared to Mental Health Trust at 1 million, and University of Texas at 2.1 million acres. But this is instrumental. It's very important for that tipping point funding and for stability. And we're so excited about the progress that our Alaska Congressional Delegation has provided on this act. And we appreciate Governor Dunleavy's support and are working with the Alaska Department of Natural Resources to identify lands suitable for conveyance to the university. Another area is our philanthropic giving. After a successful quiet phase, the public launch of the campaign is set for March 25th. Donations to the university are designated to specific programs, such as scholarships, faculty chairs, athletics, and different programs. I know several of you listening in have been a big part of this success, and your continued support of UA will help us reach our $200 million campaign goal. And starting in March, you'll be hearing a lot from us, and in both social media and on person to person. I can't thank the foundation, the University of Alaska Foundation board members enough for all of their tireless effort in this arena. I mentioned the federal delegation. They're a huge part of our success. It'd be the land grant, research, or our Arctic focus. But all of you are very important to our success as well. I ask you, each and every one of you who are all of you are leaders, and I ask you to set the expectation within your workplace and within the service organizations. Send the message that education is important. Help us reach the segment of students who may not see college as possible. There are many affordable paths for Alaskans to reach a degree. And as I demonstrated before, degree attainment pays off. Please demand stability and state support for the University of Alaska so we can focus on building enrollment in our academic and degree programs. This is so essential for our state's economic recovery. And finally, have confidence in our state's future and have confidence in the university programs that support that future. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Pat, thank you for joining us today. And we again thank the University of Alaska Foundation for their support of this program. This is a critical time for Alaskans to hear from the university's leadership and to consider the university's vital roles in education, workforce development, and as an essential part of civil society. Thank you to our members and friends for joining us today. And if you are not a member, please join us. And we're going to open it up right now for Juanetta and for some questions.
Great, thank you, Terry. And thank you to Pat for the presentation today. We appreciate hearing from you. We have some questions for you. And let's just start off with one that's very much on the minds. We recognize that we have a statewide audience, but we're very interested in what's the status of the search for a UAA chancellor. And along with that, there are some other key positions, leadership positions within the university, both at the campus level and statewide. And could you speak to finding permanent replacements, naming permanent replacements, and some of those other leadership positions?
Thank you for that question. So regarding the UAA Chancellor search, I can We have a broad search committee. It's led by three individuals. I asked Preston Simmons, Alicia Towns-Baines, and Kelly Smith, who's our faculty senate president, to lead that search process. I see the Alaska Native success, our health program success, and of course our relationship with our faculty as key drivers in the success of the next UAA chancellor. And we've received several applications. My goal is to have an offer to a chancellor candidate at the end of April. My focus, of course, is significant interest in Anchorage and the community, as well as the state. Assuming I can have that offer out end of April, we would have new chancellor on board sometime during the summer. As early as end of May, but as late as, August. There are other leadership positions with stability. We're beginning to be able to prioritize positions going forward. I want to give a huge shout out to Dan White and Chancellor Carey in University of Alaska Southeast. They are doing a tremendous job of bringing stability to those universities. So we'll keep posted on the additional searches, and we'll be prioritizing those with our constraints.
Great. Thanks, Pat. Pat, even before the pandemic, there was a major trend across the country really to right-size universities in terms of their brick and mortar presence versus their virtual capacity to deliver on virtual platforms. So can you say a little bit more? You mentioned it briefly in respect to the performance of some units across the university system, but can you say more about what you think that right sizing might look like as we move into the future and continue to adjust in terms of what people's expectations are, what the market needs are, and the need to deliver academic programs online?
So before the pandemic, University of Alaska Fairbanks and University of Alaska Southeast offered just short of about 40% of their coursework in a distance delivered mode, and UAA was about 20%. During the pandemic, it went to about 75% distance delivery because there's tremendous. There are still a need for hands-on and on-site education. The new normal is going to be probably closer to that 40–50%, I would suspect. The opportunities we see is really in the hybrid space where we have as much as we can, the online approach where we don't need the hands-on, and then significant attention to that really does, whether it's labs or automotive tech, and really maximizing what you can do online versus what you can do in person. There will be opportunities, and as I mentioned, we've sold facilities, we've demolished facilities, but many of the facilities are built for a special purpose. Our engineering facilities allow for that hands-on laboratory. And I think what we're going to see is a need to reconfigure space, and we'll also be able to reduce space on the margin, those oldest facilities, those least useful facilities, because even the workforce won't come back the way the workforce left. In terms of our office space, we'll need more than we have now, but we're not going to need as much as we had before the pandemic, because we've learned a lot, and I think we want to take advantage of it.
Okay. Pat, you mentioned that the university has done a tremendous job actually in addressing employer needs for more engineers, more nurses, and certainly more teachers in Alaska. Can you talk a little bit about the accreditation status for some of those programs, and what's the outlook for maintaining accreditation across these programs, given the challenges that the university system faces?
Well, there's a high point, not a high point. We had reconfirmation of the accreditation of University of Alaska Fairbanks. And as you know, accreditations are at the university level, and we have 3 accredited universities. And then we have, within specific programs, we have accreditation. And so across our engineering programs, we have 14 different programs that are ABET accredited, and that's the highest accreditation level for engineering programs. And we have high confidence in those special accreditation areas that they will be maintained, because also within the accreditation area, they are learning what the best practices are in this transition to distance. In practicality, a loss of accreditation should never be a surprise. These are long processes. And in no way does the behavior of the people who are involved in the education program, number one, that education program delivered great teachers. It was the process of accreditation. So no way the behavior of those individuals at that time who are no longer with us should be cast against other programs. They're strong. We do keep an eye on accreditation. It's a board topic every meeting. But like I said, there's no reason for a surprise, and we're monitoring each and every one. We have probably more than 60 programs that have specific accreditations. ACCSB for our business programs in Anchorage and Fairbanks. There's a different accreditation for the ones in Juneau, and CAPE accreditation, of course, in our education. But certainly something we're paying a lot of attention to, and no surprises.
Great. Thank you, Pat. Well, I'll get run out of town on a rail if I don't ask a question about the Arctic. So we have been engaged in a process, a study group on Arctic policy, and certainly preparing for the future of the Arctic and many of the changes that are happening in not only in communities in Alaska, but just around the Arctic. Can you say a little bit about the university's role in maybe reaching out to other jurisdictions through the University of the Arctic, and what kind of Arctic engagement is the university system involved in?
Well, the University of the Arctic is a consortium of colleges and universities across the circumpolar north. And when I was vice chancellor at UAF, I was actually involved in that organization. And Yvonne Peter, who is our College of Rural Alaska, or College of Rural and Community Development here at UAF, was a board member after Chancellor Rogers was a board member. He has stepped down, so I'm actually seeking a spot on that board. Diane Hirschberg at the University of Alaska Anchorage has been significantly involved with the University of Arctic, and she's has taken over from Chancellor I was going to say Carrie, our previous chancellor in Anchorage. Anyway, Diane is now academic vice president for University of Arctic, and really what it does, it's a communication mechanism and a forum for key initiatives across the Arctic. And I'm also very excited with the work the Institute of the North is doing, of course, and Mead's leadership in the Arctic Study Group. We also spend a lot of time with our federal delegation on the Arctic. Some of our biggest opportunities are infrastructure adaptation and development. It's commerce and transportation in the North. It's climate systems modeling. And I just think Alaska needs to be at the front end of that. And my first 6 months, I haven't been able to spend a lot of time on it, but I'm hoping my next year or two, I get to spend a lot of time, because it's such an important topic for our state to lead and our university to lead.
Absolutely, you're here. Well, and we appreciate Gwen and Diane and other folks from the university who've been very active in Commonwealth North's Arctic Policy Study Group. We appreciate their expertise and direction very, very much. We're getting close on time, and I just wanted to revisit a couple of points that you touched on in terms of what the future looks like for the university. Certainly expanding the land grant endowment will be important, doing additional philanthropic work within the community and additional giving. And I'm just wondering if you could touch on what would be the most helpful thing for everyday Alaskans to do to help support the university system.
Of course, giving, but also encouraging people to take the time to go to school, and for businesses especially, where your graduates come from, connect to those programs and give them feedback. What's working? What helps more? What do you need? Building relationships. Our most important commodity are our academic programs. But how they work best is when there's a relationship with industry directly to those programs. And we have really best practices that we've seen, engineering, our nursing, our occupational therapists, but each and every program needs to have that connection to who they're providing the graduates to. Internship opportunities for those programs, very important. And also a way to encourage in a very deliberate manner people to upskill. And again, that's going to take that connection to the program. And so, I'm not going to be here that long. The board plans to search in summer of 22. That means, probably spring, summer 23. But all of those programs are here long term. So build relationships at the program level. That's where it pays off.
Well, Pat, thank you so much. Thanks for taking questions. Thanks to the audience for submitting them. And we'll just, I'll just add that as a UAF alumna, I'm very proud of the university system and the platform that it gave me to launch myself. So I'll leave it there, and I'll turn it back to Terry for any closing remarks.
Thank you.
Here on that as a UAA grad, and the opportunities that it gave me. I remember the billboard as at the UAA campus. You know, we learn for life, right? And I try and support that in every one of our teammates, and we pay for education, and I encourage all of the businesses that can afford to do so as well, to make that available to people to learn for life. And so with that, we'd like to make sure that you're invited to join us for our next program on March 3rd, Alaska Seafood Markets, Players, and Issues, when we'll host a panel to discuss the economics of Alaska seafood, the harvesting and processing sectors, and the industry's outlook for 2021. And with that, we stand adjourned. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.